So in Travis County Correctional Complex, I was there from September, yeah, I don't know, around the 23rd, I think, 22nd, all the way up to February, and that's of 2017. I was there till February of 2018. Travis County Correctional Complex is where Travis County and Austin police send all the jail people. There's a downtown jail, but it doesn't hold that many people. I'm not sure how many people it holds. It's kind of like a maze down there. But they basically ship almost everyone to Travis County Correctional Complex in Del Valley, which is just past the airport. I already said in the last video how I was being tortured downtown. And then I got transferred to Travis County Correctional Complex, and I got moved around a couple times. And what's important to know is when I was the second place I was in for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, I think, was in HSB, which is like their like mix of crazy people and not so crazy people that they're not sure about, which they're retarded in the way that they do that. I got moved. Before I got moved, they told me I was going to run into Micah, a friend of mine. I hadn't seen in a while. And lo and behold, I got moved to Building 12, which is the main building where most of the prisoners are. There's the Health Services Building at HSB. There's quite a few people there. But Building 12 is like the newest of the buildings, I believe. They have a few trailers here and there and a few other buildings, but Building 12 was like their huge building. And then they have like A, B, C, D, E, F on that. They moved me to Unit F, 206A, I believe. And the year before I was in Building 12, Unit F, FA, or F1 rather, same unit, 206 or 207A or 207B or something like that. I was like one bed off. It was occupied when I went there, so I guess they couldn't put me in the same bed. I don't think that was a coincidence. But when I walked in there and dragged my mattress up to my cell, Micah came up and he was there. So I don't have the power I don't have the power to foretell the future or have sight beyond sight. That's just one of countless examples how I knew that this was not schizophrenia, which they proved to me very early on, but then re-questioned it like every single day for so many months. I wasn't getting tortured that much until they moved me. And then it was still pretty light. There was some shocking of the feet. That started up. And once they started shocking my feet, they basically shocked my feet every single day. There are some other things that they do where they zap your body in certain ways where it doesn't feel like a particular spot necessarily, but it makes you very antsy, very stressed out. I think that they cause a lot of fights in there. I think they cause a lot of aggression in there. I think they're studying it or pretending to study it, but they're not really. They're just fucking around people. I'll link it in the description below, but I kept a detailed log once I got moved. I started keeping a detailed log to Building 12, Unit F1. That's general population and a few psych, like light psych. And then eventually the whole unit got moved in December, at the end of December, I think, to C, which I went from 2-person cells that were locked doors. And you have unrack and rack up times is what they call it, and to Unit C1 in the same building, which had cells where they had low walls, so it's basically open cells, and they have low walls. They come up to like, I don't know, not quite up to I guess around your shoulder area, a little bit lower, and they have 4 beds in there, no bunks, but just 4 beds. And they have separate bathrooms over there. And same rack up and unrack times. But that whole time there, in both units, I kept a detailed journal and I typed it up. It's actually linked in my main Gangstalking document, but it's a separate one. I'll link it there. I sometimes quoted what they were saying to me. And I still filed grievances. I filed a was it PREA, Prison Rape End Act, PREA, I call it PREA. I filed a PREA since I was zapped in the crotch, among other things. Just like I did the last time I was in jail. They didn't do anything. They didn't follow up on it. I met with a sergeant when I was in HSB, Unit B, Health Services Building, before I got moved. And I thought he was going to pull tape and review it with me. And I was like, you can see where I'm being choked, literally by, like, I'm being zapped and being choked, it looks like. I was like, that's not me going mental. That's me being attacked. And I didn't get a response for that, I think, until late December, I think. And then the response just said, unfounded. It didn't have any notes of what did you do to look into it? Did you review the video? I wanted to look at the video with them, blah, blah, blah. I basically was getting zapped every single day in the feet, among other things. When we moved to Unit C, the torture kept getting more and more and more various. The feet zapping was basically nonstop almost the entire time. There were a couple times I would wake up or walk over to watch like TV from afar. Like they have a TV in there that they would keep on. You could listen to it on the radio. There were a few times where I was like, they're not zapping my feet. There was one time I know I was on the line for breakfast. I was like, my feet are getting zapped. And within a few minutes, they're being zapped again. When I was watching the TV once, I was like, my feet aren't getting zapped. And then within seconds, they were zapping it. And it's probably suggested by them, like, oh, your feet aren't getting zapped. We're never going to start zapping them. Like, I literally felt like my feet were being shocked the entire time. Just shocked. Not as strongly shocked that made me, like, jump up and down, like when I was being tortured in the public intoxication, false charge, arrest. But annoying as fuck. And that was minimal. Like on top of that, they were doing other things. They were zapping me and poking me and like hitting my head and hitting me here and hitting me there. I felt like someone was jabbing their thumb into me. And for a week, I took my journals and I didn't mention any of the voices because I didn't want them to think schizophrenia. And I was basically did grievances on the pain. And I had complained to a couple of officers there before, but they just didn't do anything. And a couple of them acted like assholes, and then a few of them were like, I don't know what to do. One guy was like, there's not a door in the back of your cell. And I was like, no, I know that there's not a door, an invisible door in the back of my cell that aliens or intruders are coming in to tase me by. That's not what I'm saying. But I basically described the pain. In one instance I described, when I looked down at my crotch, I felt like my balls were getting racked. I felt like my balls were being crushed. It's painful. I was just reading a book, I believe, or doing Sudoku or something like that. I looked down. There was a laser pointer dot, a red dot on my crotch. And I had seen things like this before where I'd seen like different colored laser dots or tracers every now and then. They like to do that every now and then. They're like, ooh, blue. Did you see a blue dot over there? And it's only there for like a split second. And they're like, ooh, did you see it? And sometimes they'll say it beforehand, but usually they'll say it afterwards. But it's stupid. It's like, yeah, there's blue, so what? There's a blue dot over there. Who gives a shit? Like, it's among many of the stupid things that they do. And they're still hitting me like in the back. It still feels like someone's punching me like right below my kidneys. I put my hand here, and I feel a warmth. I feel a pressure, and I feel electricity. And they keep moving it. They're trying to like dodge it. Oh, I feel it there. Now I don't feel it in my hand. Now I'm feeling it in my lower back. Ooh, now my hand's hurting, but my lower, and it's partially blocking it, but they're hitting it from multiple angles, and they're moving it around. That's not up here. But another thing they did with my feet was they did this knocking. It felt like somebody was like, they kept that up for like, I don't know, a month and a half. 2 months. That was annoying as fuck. Sometimes they'll do a vibration. Oh, but the write-up. But I did a write-up. I even described, like, when I looked down, I felt like my crotch was being, like crushed. I saw a laser pointer dot on it, and then it vanished, and I put my hand over my crotch, and my hand felt like it was being crushed like that. I just felt intense pain, and I didn't feel it in my balls anymore. It subsided. Whenever they do it in the balls, it still subsides almost immediately, not as immediately as other areas of the body. There's still like an ache that like lingers for like a little bit. Guys, you can understand what I'm talking about. It's like if you get racked, there's sort of an echo or a lingering effect. But I felt it in my hand, and I did that all the time. They would jab my neck all the time, like right here. And like in my write-up, I would put times and dates where I would be like, okay, I'm standing at my cell. I was standing there with my notepad writing, and I was hoping that they would pull the video footage with me because I was doing sanity checks. I wanted them to look at the video with me, or look at it and like look at what I was writing or typed up. I was like, look, I'm standing at my cell. I'm feeling a jab at if my Adam's apple is 12 o'clock. I couldn't have made like this any clearer. If my Adam's apple is 12 o'clock, then I feel it like 3 o'clock. And I was like, I feel it right here. I was like, if I turn 180 degrees, and like in the jail, like they didn't move the beams around so much. They did sometimes, but they're pretty much usually constant. So like, and sometimes they go through period. Usually they do keep them constant. They don't move them around as much. They move them around more lately, more recently. And anytime I'm having a friend, like when I was the last house I was at with Tim, he would try to feel for them. They would dodge him all the time because they didn't want him to be a witness. But I'd be standing in my cell. I'd be like, look, I'm feeling it here. And I would motion for the cameras. Like I was hoping that they would pull the video footage. I'm like, look, I feel something right here jabbing me. It feels like an electric jolt, and someone like jabbing their thumb into my neck right there. And I would write, when I turn 180 degrees, and I would do this, I would literally like a stupid motherfucker, I would like turn around 180 degrees, and I would be like, for the camera, and I'd be like, now I feel it here, but I'd be turned around. So it'd be like, it'd still be coming here, but I would be turned around and be like, now I feel it here at 9 o'clock, because there's something coming from like somewhere over here, some direction, hitting my neck right there. And I'd be like, I can block it. I can do this. I don't feel it anymore. I feel this in my feet. My feet are feeling the vibration. Now they don't. Now I'm blocking it. Now I feel something here in my stomach. I put my hand in front of it, and now I feel it in my hand, and I no longer feel it in my stomach. I'm blocking it like that. And like I would write it up like that. So nothing in my write-ups should have been, because I didn't mention the voices, should have been responded to in a psychiatric way. They kept throwing counselors at me. Well, first of all, they ignored it, and they threw counselors at me. They threw 2 counselors to me in 2 days. And one counselor was like, you just need to follow up with your PREA complaint. Because I kept trying to meet with the sergeant, like, you didn't follow up with that PREA complaint that you promised to, the Prison Rape End Act violation. Since it is a violation, it doesn't matter if it's a broom handle or a person's hand or these, it's still a sexual touch. You're still touching me in a private place, and you're not allowed to do that. And she was like, you just need to keep doing that. And then 2 days later, a counselor woke me up, and I'd been up all night, and I was sleeping, and I was like, I don't need to speak to you. And she's like, I heard you seeing like laser beams and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not seeing laser beams all over the place. I saw a laser pointer dot on there, or like a tracer or something. Like, and then that was, and they were like, and I was like, do you not read? Can you not read the complaint? Not to the counselor necessarily, but, and I didn't speak with her, and she stupidly sent me back to Health Services Building, Unit F, which is where like half the people are there are in orange stripes instead of gray or black stripes, which that means they're like maximum security and they only get 1 hour of time. I only got 4 hours out of the cell. 1 hour in the morning if you're up early enough, and it's optional, and you have to ask to be let out. And then like an hour for lunch, and then like 2 hours for dinner, or 2 hours for lunch and 1 hour for dinner, or something like that. And that's it. And then I was just stuck in a single person cell. I was there for 3 days. And these assholes there like kept me locked up for 24 hours because I was banging my notebook against it. I was like, no. I was like, I need to speak to the counselor. They're like, they were like, well, we'll get that note to them. I'm like what? And like, so they won't get it for a few days? And they're like, yeah, that's right. I'm like, asshole. I mean, I didn't call them assholes, but they were assholes. And the one guard kept coming to my door and like taunting me. And, yeah, that's when I was in there, and I heard, you shouldn't have told on us. And then that's where all the coincidences happen. Like I was reading the Gunslinger series, the Dark Tower series, and the number 19 is like a special number. And they like to point out coincidences, and they like to make coincidences as well. Well, one of the coincidences is the responding sergeant was named Dill, and Dill was a big buzzword with them. And they used to like, ooh, dill pickles, dill, ooh, dill, dill, dill. That was one of the original buzzwords. And I'm like, is there really a Sergeant Dill here? And why doesn't it have his name? Why doesn't it say Sergeant Dill? Why doesn't it say Sergeant whatever Dill on there? I'm like, he just responded to it like a fucking retard. And luckily I got moved back to a different cell, but in the same unit. So I got with a good group of people there, and we made meals all the time. I basically was the chef there. I made a few cakes there. So I was like proud of like being able to cook in jail. And my dad was nice enough to give me the outside commissary and the inside commissary. So I got to make the little Kool-Aid like mix-ins for the drinks, which you couldn't get on the inside commissary. And, I usually was doing pretty fine there on food, and we make big ass bowls of for dinner and have enough to like share with our even people outside of our cell. Oh, but yeah, they said they should have told us. Oh, and the number 19. When they moved me, first of all, they moved me to like I think cell 42 or 43, and that was a special number. That was a buzz number because I was 42, and then 43 at the time. So it's like, oh, 42, 43. It's like, and also like the Hitchhiker's Guide is the meaning of the universe. That's another buzz. That's another one that they clinged on to. I'm not saying that that's like nothing more than a coincidence, but like I don't think it was a coincidence that I got moved to the cell that I was almost in, and like they told me I was going to meet Micah, and I got moved to the unit that Micah was in. So it's like that's not just that's just not their subliminal influence. That's them, working with people in Travis County. And I got moved, and they're like, "Hey, grab a mattress out of like cell 19, the empty that one has a clean mattress, or has a mattress in there, and you can clean it." I was like, is that just coincidence? Like, ooh, cell 19. Ooh, number 19, it's special. I'm not making more of it, but I'm just saying, I'm just putting it there because they put a lot of coincidences. I don't think all of these are just coincidences. I think some of them were manufactured, especially the ones in there. I mean, how did they know it was going to be moved to the unit where Micah was going to be? I mean, it's a huge ass building. There's other places I could have been moved to. I mean, there's dozens of other units. It's not a coincidence that I just happened to land in the unit where Mike was in. And I saw a couple of other people that came through there that I don't think were coincidences and got put in the same unit with me. It's not that many people in a unit. 4 times. I don't there's like 50 or 100 people in a unit. But like, there's dozens of units in there. Like each pod, each letter has 4 units in it. And it goes from A through F, and I think there's a G, but I think it's the padded cell. Yeah. So I got moved back to C1. Luckily, I got in the same unit because I made friends there. I had played soccer with some of them. Or kicked the basketball around. We played soccer with it. We just kicked it around. I was playing spades and quite a bit, or Uno. All the time I kept getting zapped or vibrated. Sometimes I'd be sitting down playing spades, and it would be very awkward, and they just would vibrate me. I feel like my whole butt vibrate, or my legs vibrate. And I'm like, that's not coming from here. Like, they're literally vibrating. It's not like I feel like a slight sensation of vibration. No, I feel like this. Like I wasn't shaking, but like my butt was vibrating. It was like, it felt like the seat was vibrating, but not, it was my body. It was like the electricity in my body, or my feet were vibrating. And I basically shocked my feet the very last day I was there and beyond, and even after I got out. So they weren't responding to my grievances, even though, except with those two counselors. And I did a whole week where I like typed up my journals and submitted them. And like each one, I was like, I'm standing at the camera, and I'm like, I feel something here. And I would write, I am making a motion for the camera so you can review this footage on me. And I'm doing this to show you that I'm not crazy. I'm like, I feel something here. Now I'm turning slowly, and I'm feeling it here. Like, now I'm blocking it. And sometimes I would do like this, and I'd be like, I feel something here. I feel something coming from here. And one of my cellmates actually put his hands over my feet one time when they were being shocked. And he felt the electrocution. He felt like a warm electromagnetic field is what he kind of put it. And around that same week, around the same few days after he felt that, Mike, that was Daniel that felt it in the same unit, the same cell as me. And then Mike in the same cell as me, he got sick for like a day, and they can mimic illnesses pretty well. It felt like feverish. And I said, Daniel, come over here, feel over his body. And he was lying on his back, and like Daniel and I hovered or like did this individually, separately. And we each felt something over his head and then something over his stomach. The same beams like that were hitting my feet, but they felt slightly different. There was a weight to it. There was a heat to it. And it felt like an electromagnetic beam. I didn't feel like my hands were being shocked, but they felt like they were in an energy field. Daniel felt the same thing. And when I put my hands over, I put one or two hands over Mike's head, the guy that was feeling sick, because I felt the beam hitting his head, he went, oh my God, I instantly feel better. And we repeated that. And like, and anytime we covered, like blocked the beam, he instantly felt he didn't feel feverish or sick anymore. And I'm like, they're doing that to you. And then they did the same thing to me one day for like a little bit, not as long as they did to him. And they've done it to me a few times since then. It feels like you have a cold or a fever or like a mild flu. They can bring it on like that. They can make you feel achy and tired like that. Right now they're pushing against my upper lip. They have pinpoint precision too. And then Chris, this guy that was in the unit or the cell below us, or it was like at a diagonal, he had a bed like almost directly below me, but at a slight diagonal. And he said that there was one night where he was getting his feet shocked, and they were going numb. And he said he flipped around the next night, and then his shoulder and upper arm was going numb and getting shocked. I'm like, Chris, you're getting my collateral damage. Like your collateral damage from what? Like from when they're missing me or going through me or when they're trying to hit me, they're hitting you. And so he and Daniel are my witnesses. And there was another guy in the unit, John, I forgot what we called him. We didn't call him by his real name. I forgot what we called him in there. But he's also listed as a victim. John William Pate, I think is his name. He was going through almost the exact same thing I was going through. He heard the voices. He described the same patterns in the voices. I was like, do you hear them before you hear them? Like when you hear them, does it feel like they're repeating themselves? Like you just heard it like microseconds or a few seconds before then, like at a subliminal level or a lower volume? And he was like, yeah. I was like, you have a soundboard? And he was like, yeah. He's like, and they keep fucking with me. And he was getting shocked too. He was getting his feet shocked. He was getting body shocked. He was getting zapped. He was hearing the voices. And there were other people that were experiencing this as well that I had already met, that they had come and gone, and they had that subset of what I was going through. But he was going through the full thing, the most of anyone else that I've talked to. And so we all filed grievances. I don't know if Chris did because he said he would, but I left the day that like I heard about it from him, and I was like, please file a grievance, and he promised that he would file a grievance. So I'm assuming he did, and so that's why I'm putting him as a witness that went on official record. I'm assuming he did. He's still a witness, but that's two witnesses and two victims. And the three of us, before Chris, we put our grievances in writing, and finally a sergeant met and spoke with us. I don't know if it was the Sergeant Dill, but he spoke with each of us individually. We each gave the same supporting statements. And he asked the other guys, he was like, did he put you up to this? Because I guess he was tired of seeing my grievances, and he thought I was making this shit up. And when I met with him, I'm like, I'm not making this up. I'm like, I'm getting shocked. And I'm being shocked every single day, and I can block it with my hands. And I don't think any of us mentioned the voices, but I was basically, because I don't want to focus on that. But I was like, I'm getting shocked. And law enforcement officers should know about riot and crowd control devices that can do this. Like I wasn't aware of them, and a lot of the public may not be aware of them, but every single law enforcement officer, I believe, is aware of these devices. And they should be able to connect. They should have been able to connect the dots on that. He did absolutely nothing. I mean, I left, you know, but like, what, they didn't do anything. And I've contacted the sheriff since then, and she won't respond to it. And I know that she read my message on Facebook because it looked like she was about to type a response, and then she didn't finish it and didn't respond to me on Facebook. So, Sally, you're in deep shit, as is the police chief of Manor and Austin. But we each met with him, and I was like a couple of days before I left. Or I think it was 2 days before I left, or I think 2 or 3 days. When I heard about Chris was a few days later, like the day before I left, or the day I left. And I was like, please do agreements, and he promised that he would the next day. So I'm assuming he did go on official record. I'm listing him as official record. He's still a witness that could be contacted, nonetheless, and a victim, technically. But yeah, they did absolutely nothing, and I just can't believe there's people on record that are not looking into this. But my feet got shocked every single day. I kept getting jabbed. There was a few days where I almost couldn't. I walked with a limp. Like I was just walking around the day room, and then they basically mimicked a pinched nerve, like right there, and they kept hitting me like right around my lower back, my hip area. They kept zapping me like a motherfucker there. And then finally, like, I don't know if it was from them doing that or them continuing to mimic it. But then, like, I was basically walking with, I felt like I had a pinched nerve every time I walked. I was like walking with a limp. But there were sometimes I could barely get out of bed those few days. That's how much it hurt. And I would literally like lie in bed and like use my fist or thumb and like jab it into like the muscle area there. And that might have helped. Sometimes I don't know if that was them like pretending to, because they do shit like that. They do things where like they pretend to give you a fake defense to what they're doing, and then they'll act it out as if that is a defense, and then later you find out that it's not a defense to it, and that they were just pretending to like, and they were just pulling one over on you, which is like the most ridiculous, stupid thing in the world. It's like, so it was a defense to it because it still worked. It's like when they hit me in my head. Like, I don't know if Advil does anything or not. I don't know if it helps reduce the pain for future attacks during the period that the medicine's in there. But because I don't know if it still works on that same type of pain the same way it does on normal headaches or not. I'm not sure. Maybe it does a little bit. But regardless, a lot of times they'll hitting me in my upper lip again. They're hitting me right here. Sometimes when they do the head thing and then like they create a migraine, like, ooh, you should take some Advil. And then I'll put off taking Advil, and then I'll take Advil. And then they'll like reduce like hitting me in the head and acting like the Advil's taking it away. And they're like, ooh, you sound crazy. Like maybe it is the Advil and you're schizophrenic. And it's like, no. Like, but they do things like that. And it's like, what, like normally I wouldn't say something like that to someone else because that sounds preposterous. Well, you had a migraine and you took Advil and it went away. So what are you saying? So, but they do things like that. They do, and they get other people to do like these weird small things to where like you complain about them and like you got assaulted at your doctor's office with a needle while like right after a blood draw. And it's hard to convince people. Yeah, that would never happen to anyone in anyone's entire life, and it involved 2 people. And they released my healthcare information to these people. And they lied to me. They're like, we didn't get any blood. Yeah, you did. Maybe they took blood from the second draw. No, Dad, they did not. And they confessed wrongdoing, and they corroborated my statements. And you still haven't apologized to me at all for being wrong on that, and for treating me like shit, and for treating me like a crazy person. And by the way, when I say treated me like a crazy person, I mean treated me like you shouldn't treat a crazy person, if you know what I mean. Like, you, even if I was crazy, you shouldn't treat someone that way. You shouldn't treat someone the way that you did. There were a few times where you were like decent with me, and I'm not saying you were an asshole the entire time, but you don't treat people like that. The totality of, it's like, that's fucking bullshit. What you responded to me about the whole incident anyway, I'll do a separate video on that. But that thing with the way that you responded to Alan was complete bullshit. And fuck you for that. Like, I'm so like that's such a big bag of bullshit. Like, for you to sit there and be like, well, Well, you were picked up because, you were getting, Tim said you were getting worse. I'm like, I was getting worse. Like, I was around Tim more and I was telling Tim more. So yeah, but as far as Alan knew, I wasn't getting worse. There were 2 incidences where I got loud for a brief period of time, and he said something to me, and I got quiet. And they weren't even loud enough for someone to even be that alarmed by. It would be just someone to say quiet, like, "Oh, hey, you're being too loud." Okay, sorry. For someone that's in pain all the time, yeah, I'm gonna cry out in pain, like, once a month. Ooh, that's a horrible roommate. That deserves a hammer taken to the door, which is a violent act, Dad. And for you to say that it's not a violent act, that is complete and utter bullshit. I keep losing so much respect for you. Each response that you send to me, it's utter bullshit, regardless if you're under their influence or not, which I don't think you are. I think you were part of the time. Your response was utter bullshit. And like, I am so disappointed in you for the way you responded to that. I did nothing wrong. And you acted like I did something evil and wrong and bad. I did nothing wrong. I was yanked out of my bed. I guess it's a separate video. I was yanked out of my bed and like, I was a victim. And you treat me like shit. Fuck you.